Welcome to VNN Canada with me, Navedna Prabhu. In today's episode, I have an extremely special guest. I have Canadian laser sailor James Juhasz joining us. James, thank you so much for taking the time out and coming on our show.
Thank you for having me.
James, my first question, of course, to you would be before COVID really happened, and it's such a testing time for people around the globe. Of course, we haven't been taught how to deal with a pandemic, and that comes with so much of uncertainty. And for you, of course, because you have to get out there in the water and train. So the first thing when you realized that a state of emergency has been declared, what did you think about it? Did you, what was the first thought that went into your mind?
Yeah, well, it was a little bit nerve-wracking because I was down in Florida for a training camp with a couple of my training partners, and so when everything while the training camp was going on, we were tracking the situation and we were seeing everything evolve, and then I think we watched Trump's address actually first, and then we watched Trudeau's address that happened after, and we were like, oh, I guess we need to be getting home. And it was the last training camp that we had in Florida for the year planned, so we had to pack all of our stuff up that day and just make a mad dash to the Canadian border.
Having said that, before you were, of course, in Florida and training, like you said, but prior to that, everything looked kind of great for you. You also went to Melbourne in Feb 2020, and that kind of looked fantastic. So when this happened, and of course, you came back and you were asked to self-isolate for 14 days, is that when you were thinking for, alternate methods to kind of start training? Because we hear you are training and you're finding creative methods to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. We were kind of leading up towards a peak as well. We were leading up towards the Canadian Olympic trials in Palma. So when we got back, we had plans to be flying to Spain to sail for, a couple of days later. So we were all ready to go, and we were getting all excited, and then we were told we had to self-isolate. So we absolutely started having to come up with creative ways to stay in shape at home.
Because, so how is that happening right now? How are you training? What is it looking like for you?
So I have we call it a hiking bench. It's kind of the main thing I'm working on right now. It basically simulates the position that we have to hold in the boat. So when you're in a laser, the type of boat I sail, the way you go fast basically is you hook your feet into a strap in the middle of the boat, and you lean out outside of the boat to counteract the forces of the sail and
right.
Keep it flat, keep the boat balanced. So I have a bench that I built here, which kind of simulates it's the same width dimensions as the boat.
Okay.
So I can hook my feet into it and lean back and practice that motion, and keep those muscles fresh so that when everything does pass over and we get the green light to continue on training and racing, that we'll be hitting the ground running as fast as we can.
And how did you come up with that, like this innovative method, or has it always been around? Like, how does that
it's always been around as a tool that sailors use to train on land, but it's really becoming something that everybody has to do now. Otherwise you're just gonna fall behind, and you're gonna lose the strength that we've worked so hard to build.
Right. So, and how is self-isolation treating you? What are you also making, like banana bread and cooking, or has it been something different? I mean, of course, apart from what we just spoke, how are you keeping busy?
Yeah, it's actually, I'm keeping reasonably busy. It is quite a bit of work that just continuing to keep an Olympic campaign running.
Right.
On top of, I'm on my hiking bench for at least an hour every day, and I'm on an indoor stationary bike training for between an hour and 2 hours every day. So on top of that, I'm working to let my supporters know what I'm up to, how I'm training,
Right.
doing lots of media, keep making sure everybody's in the loop,
Yes.
and working on my website, keeping everybody up to date with the constant COVID updates that are happening. But
Right.
yeah, even doing a little bit of online sailing, playing some games with friends online, just
Nice.
simulators, which is a little bit of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Unlike for a
Yeah.
lot of us who are just stuck making banana bread for some reason. You just mentioned about your campaign and the website. Could you talk to us a little more, on that front?
Yeah, absolutely. Any Olympic sport, any high performance sport costs a lot of money,
Yeah.
and I'm not working for a professional team or anything like that. I'm campaigning for the Olympics, which even though campaigning for the Olympics is a full-time job, the whole
Yeah.
spirit of the Olympics is that it's amateur sports, right? So
Yes.
you're not allowed to be signed to a contract or making any kind of money in that way. So I need to find other creative ways to pay for my campaign. Most of which at this point is fundraising through friends, family, the local club. People who see my journey and are really inspired by it and want to help. I need to get funds from anywhere I can, really.
So, how do if people were to kind of help you or probably check out your work, what is the best way that they can do so?
Yeah, well, they can find me through Instagram, through at james.juhasz, or through my website is
Okay.
the most direct way to donate to me, or through something called windathletes.com,
Okay.
which is a charitable foundation that helps sailing athletes like me raise money. So because it's a charity, if you donate to me through Wind Athletes, you get a tax receipt, which
Okay.
is really helpful. But though, yeah, those are the main three ways right now.
That
And
they
I'm
can.
also working towards getting corporate sponsorships that can help me a little bit.
Okay, fantastic. I'm really interested in about knowing this. How did you really zero in on sailing? Like, what is it that really attracted you, to take this sport up?
Yeah, so that's a good question. When I was a little kid, when I was 6 years old, my parents bought a small sailboat, and
Okay.
we never had a cottage. It was like our floating cottage, if you will. So we would spend our weekends and our summers on the sailboat all the time, and yeah, I basically grew up on it. With me and my two little sisters and my mom and dad just cruising around Lake Ontario. We'd go to the Thousand Islands for a couple of weeks in the summer, and then I'd be working on the boat with my dad, helping him out. And so when I was 8 years old, eventually my parents decided to put me in sailing school at the local club in Bronte for
Right.
uh, for 2 weeks in the summer, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I started sailing little boats called optimists,
Okay.
which is what all the little kids sail, and I just loved it, and I had a knack for it. And so I went for the first summer. I went for 2 weeks, and then I decided to go for another 2 weeks. So I went for a whole month, and then the next summer I went for 2 months, the entire summer. And by the time I was 12 years old, I joined the race team at the local club,
Right.
and absolutely loved it, of course. And then
There was no looking back.
yeah, no looking back.
Yeah.
At 14 years old, I was picked up by the provincial team, and it's kind of just become time consuming and all my dedication
And
into
here
it
you
since
are,
then.
of
Yeah,
course, prepping
exactly.
for Olympics. I mean, what a great story. Having said that, what are the challenges that you believe, really entails for the sailing industry per se, like as a sport? What are probably the two toughest things that you have to probably endure?
Yeah, the toughest thing I'd say, especially when growing up, was that in Canada, sailing isn't a hugely popular sport like it
Right.
is in other places in the world, like in France, in England, in New Zealand, Australia. It's massive. It's one of their biggest Olympic sports. So one of the biggest challenges is just kind of spreading the word in Canada and getting people to understand and also appreciate all the work that I put into it, because it really is, it's a full-time job on top of being a university student right now. So
Right.
it's crazy. And then the second thing, probably probably just the amount of dedication that it really takes, since, like I said, since I've joined the provincial team at 14 years old, it's been my entire life, which is kind of hard to imagine. I had friends in high school that I would know throughout the year, and then I would just disappear for the entire summer. and and even at university, this past semester, I go to Queens. I was only in Kingston for 2 weeks of the entire semester, because I had regattas in Miami and in Melbourne. So it's a serious amount of commitment. But it's, at the same time, as hard as it is with the amount of commitment, it's not that hard because I love it so much.
Right. So it doesn't make it seem like it's a task to do. You mentioned about, college. So how is that? How do you really balance a strenuous, training schedule and, of course, attending college? Now, of course, you aren't, but just in general, how are you
Yeah,
balancing it?
it's a skill that I've learned for sure. I started learning it in high school. I'd be away for weeks at a time and have to keep up online. But just communication with your professors and your TAs is really important. When you explain what you're doing and you explain that you're representing the university and you're representing Canada, it's they don't see it as a terrible thing that you're missing this amount of school. So you just need to present yourself in the right way, and then you also need to follow up on your promises. Obviously, you need to,
Right.
after a 10-hour day of training and racing, you come home and the last thing you want to do is sit down in front of a computer and type out an essay. But sometimes that's just what you
Have to
have to
do it,
do.
right? That's
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
signed up for. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're quite understanding, and more recently, I've also been taking reduced course loads to kind of to help. This past semester, because it was supposed to be, leading up to the Olympics and through the Olympic trials, I was only in one course, and it was online, so that helps a lot when you decide to take reduced course loads.
Reduced courses. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be telling people out there to take reduced courses unless, of course, you're representing Canada. Then it makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Having said that, what are your Olympic aspirations looking like? What is it what is the sort of training that you're looking? Of course, there's a kind of a pause right now with COVID-19, but let's just hope everything comes back like how it was. Then how does training look for you? What are your aspirations for Olympics 2024?
Yeah, so I'm aiming towards 2024, which means the spring of 2024 there'll be the Olympic trials,
Right.
and the World Championships the year before that. We'll have to qualify the country to get a spot at the Olympics. So right now I'm deciding when is the most opportune time to go full time into sailing. So everything's obviously on pause right now with COVID, but we can see this as an opportunity to get to train with people who are at their peaks, getting ready for the Olympics for an extra year, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
people who would have retired after the 2020 Olympics are now going to be in the game until 2021. So that's an opportunity to get better, and as far as I'm concerned, you need to seize that opportunity. So hopefully I'll be done with school and ready to and ready to be full time and taking it really seriously, even more so than now.
Considering you're still in school, what is a message that you would like to give, young students who would also probably want to take sports as a career? It's not something that is encouraged on the first go, because there's so much of uncertainty involved when you get into, let's say, the creative space or like sports. So, what is the first thing that you would like to tell young kids who want to pursue it and who have a passion for it?
Yeah, well, I always say, I always tell myself at least, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right? So it's important to be doing what you're really interested in, but at the same time, it is always important to have a backup plan, and whether or hopefully you're studying something that you're really interested in, and that way you can be really happy. But if you don't have interests in any of your studies, you still need to follow that path to completion, because if you don't, you're almost certain to look back in 10 years and wish you had. You're not everything that's good in life comes easy, and so actually nothing that's good in life comes easy. So
that's true. I was just going to say that, but
yeah. So you need to push yourself and really find where your limits are, and that will make you happy for sure.
Right. So the bottom line is to to do what you love, and you wouldn't feel like you're working on an everyday basis. So that would be your message. Right. Okay, fantastic. So before I let you go, what would you like to tell, fellow Canadians? What sort of a message would you like to tell them? Of course, you're prepping for 2024. You're putting in all the effort and hard work, and of course, people can see it. But what is the best way for them to know that they can help you in this journey?
Yeah, well, I mean, my main message to everybody in Canada is just hang in there. It's gonna be okay eventually. We gotta stick together. But anybody who wants to follow my journey can go to my website, jamesjuhasz.com, or follow me on Instagram, james.juhasz, and sign up for my email list, where I send out monthly emails to let everybody know what's going on. And hopefully what I'm doing in my journey can be a little bit of inspiration in people's everyday lives.
For sure, it is. And thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us on VNN Canada. It was an absolute pleasure having you, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on. It's been great.
Thank you so much.